Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome to Big Deal. Today we have with us Dhanpal Zaveri of Everstone joining us on Big Deal. Dhanpal, so good to have you on CNBC TV 18. Now you just closed one particular fundraise. Tell us more about that. How much are you raising and what's the focus of this fund?
First of all, Nisha, very good morning and thanks for having me over on your show. It's great to be here again. I think the fund that we've just raised, which is called Green Growth Equity Fund, GGEF, is, I believe, possibly one of the first funds of its kind in India. This is a fund which has been anchored by the Government of India and the Government of UK through their agencies, NIF, which is, as you know, the National Infrastructure Investment Fund, India's premier infrastructure fund, and DFID, which is a Government of UK organization. Right. We have jointly committed between the two of them and us as the GP, 260 million pounds, about $350 million, where the first close is already done. Yeah. The announcement was done in UK at the Commonwealth Summit, and we are targeting a total close of 700 million.
Right.
The fund's focus area is really, as is the fund's name, green investing. And there are 4 focus areas: renewables, electric, water, and waste.
Right.
Each of these areas, if you look at the needs as we grow as an economy, as we urbanize, and as resources become more scarce, there's a clear need to kind of create business opportunities to address these needs. And we think that in each of these 4 areas, the countries at a different stage of its evolution. I think renewables over the last few years, there's been a massive acceleration of investments. We think that will continue to grow. There's a target of 175 gigawatts of investment in renewables. We do believe that there's a whole ecosystem and a value chain of businesses that needs to be created to support that growth.
Is it going to be only for India, or in various countries you're going to
This is an India-focused fund.
Okay.
So our core markets have always been India, and therefore this will
And are there enough assets available which you can buy out? How are you going to go about it? Are you also going to create organically as well?
So the investment strategy remains the same as we've done it in other Everstone funds, that we will largely buy or build businesses, and a small percentage of our funds will go into partnering with high growth businesses, where we will essentially take an investment to support that growth. And in the buy and build strategy, clearly we do see in renewables both playing itself out.
Right.
I think there's a whole grid strategy where some of the players have done very well, where they have over the last few years built very scaled utility scale generation platforms.
Right.
We do think that there are a significant number of assets over there, a lot of them which are stranded, they don't have capital, or where the basic owners essentially have no interest to grow those businesses.
Right.
In addition, I think the bigger opportunity, as I say, remains organic growth. If you look at where we are today, about 30-35 gigawatts of installed capacity, and another 140 plus gigawatts to be built, a huge amount of capital is required to finance that growth.
Right.
And again, we do think that our fund will contribute towards that.
Right. There are many now renewable players in the market. Some of them are also at a size where they can go for the IPO market. How has your experience been? Because you do have one particular asset region. How is that performing, and how is the strategy going to be different from what you have already done?
Yeah. So great point you make, and I think the true test is really as to how these companies essentially are able to get listed, and how investors find that. But I do believe that the risk that renewable companies are taking essentially in being developers first, then constructing assets, and then managing them as operators, I do believe that there are different sets of investors who come in at different stages in these opportunities. And from a public market perspective, there is a large set of investors who will, over a period of time, want to chase yield, not just growth. And that's where I see the interest in public market investors participating in the renewable sector playing out. That these are essentially yield assets, but which also offer growth. So I do think that there are different structures and forms in which assets will go to the market. I think IPOs clearly being one opportunity. I do think InvITs over a period of time will become more popular as the rules and I think the familiarity with the product increases. And this is something that we've seen world over.
Right.
There will be a fairly active interest in these kind of assets.
So tell me more about even water as well as waste management areas. Are there enough assets available? Are we doing enough in India? And what are the areas that you'd be looking at here?
Yeah. Both interesting areas that clearly have their attendant challenges today. The big challenge today about water is really wastage. And as a result of that, what we are seeing is also that recycling is becoming an extremely important element of it. The government has a very, very clear focus over the next 10 years to better harness water as a resource. I think over the next 30 years, you've looked at various global reports which clearly state that water is going to be the next big resource which is becoming scarce.
Yeah.
And how do we as a country which is a growing population, requires significant amount of water, manage and recycle and I would say process this resource. This is the value chain where we think there will be opportunities.
Right.
The challenge today is a lot of it is today focused on either local distribution or captive industry, with not enough economic models kind of developing,
Right.
which can be self-sustaining and supportable on its own. We are obviously evaluating some very interesting opportunities over there, which have somehow managed to crack that conundrum.
Okay.
And I do believe that as the government begins to focus more and more on these sectors, we will see more business opportunities coming from the private sector addressing this issue.
So are you going to partner with some of the other private equity investors? You have had a Canadian pension fund also partner you in your industrial logistics business. So something like that, is that something also you're looking at?
So for this fund, we've tied up with one of the world's largest solar renewable company. It's a company called Lightsource, which recently announced partnership with BP, where the entire BP global solar strategy is going to be executed through Lightsource. So Lightsource are partners in this business as we manage this fund. They've built over 2.5 gigawatts of solar assets in Europe. They are on the cutting edge in terms of both understanding how to generate as well as store renewable energy. And we believe a lot of those strengths is something that we will be able to leverage as we look to build assets in the Indian ecosystem.
All right. So this will be more of a green platform. Now you have worked a lot on platform building in the past as well, like the industrial park that I spoke about, logistics and industrial, where CPPIB was supposed to pump in more than $1 billion. How is that going? At what stage is that particular investment now?
As you know, IndoSpace, which is our industrial parks brand and platform on which we've kind of built this business, we started that a few years ago. Clearly, when we started it, there was a lot of anticipation that GST would come in. It has finally come in, and I think it will act as a big catalyst as we continue to build the business going forward. I think the challenge when we set up the business was that there was no availability of grade A industrial parks. If you look at what's happened on the urban infrastructure side, whether it be residential, commercial, retail, mixed-use developments, there's a lot of high-quality construction now and development which has happened.
Right.
But on the industrial side, there was complete vacuum.
Right.
As India started seeing scale players come in, whether it be logistics players, whether it be consumer businesses, whether it be large, OEMs, they were all saying that how do we basically get grade A infrastructure. So as we started building out, we saw massive demand, and today we have over 20 million square feet of operating space. We're building 4-5 million square feet every year, and we have a roster of clients which is literally all the top multinationals, Indian businesses which have an exposure either to consumer, industrial, or logistics businesses. I do believe that GST is now acting as a big catalyst.
Okay.
As our clients are beginning to re-strategize in terms of how they address India as one market, as against 29 markets or 30 markets what it was before GST.
Right.
And that realignment again has spurred demand for grade A large distribution hubs.
Right.
Right, where they would essentially use that as a means to store goods and then transport it onwards to either meet urban market demand or to meet industrial demand.
Right.
So we are quite excited about it. ECPPIB, the joint venture which took place last year, has been a great, I would say, milestone in the journey for this business. And we continue to partner with them and continue to build new assets.
As far as the IPO space is concerned, we saw Indostar. How's that doing? What will be the strategy of growth going forward?
So Indostar is another platform that we built starting in 2011 with a very clear vision that we wanted to build a high quality, high governed credit lending business. We did see that this business over a period of 10 to 20 years would become a catalyst to driving what we call financing or lending to Middle India.
Right.
The way we define Middle India is that India has a very large entrepreneurial business community, and they have several business needs, and one of them key being financing. Financing is a raw material for any business. So as we built out the lending platform, clearly we focused on corporate lending because that allows you to scale the business at a low operating cost base and therefore generate profits fairly rapidly.
Right.
Over the last 5-7 years, we also established a very strong track record of credit history, which allowed us to build an entire liability platform. We bank with over 50-60 financial institutions and banks. We have a strong credit rating of AA, and we also are essentially, as we've built a profit base, started expanding and diversifying our lending strategies.
So how is the business looking now in a hardening interest rate scenario?
So bulk of our business today is linked to essentially what we say is our core borrowing rate, and we essentially have a spread to that when we lend to our clients. Second is also that as the interest rates harden, we are able to reset a lot of the rates because that's contractual in nature. The third opportunity we see for ourselves is really that we have never been philosophically a low-cost borrower. We know we are always going to be higher cost than the banks. But what we have is an ability to tailor solutions to borrowers who need capital at the right point in time. And that relationship that we've developed both on the corporate side as well as on the small and medium business side is something that we believe will continue to add strength to Indostar.
Right.
Another, I would say, key catalyst has been the fact that banking as such over the last few years has struggled with its quality issues. The differentiation again for Indostar is that we've possibly had one of the best, we've lent out more than 24,000 crores. We currently have 7,000 crore. We had 0 NPAs on the corporate side. We have very low NPAs on the retail side. And we do think that growth, quality, and profitability, the three drivers for our business, will continue to be the basis on which we build this business.
Definitely. So the NBFC and the financial services space has benefited at the expense of the larger banks, which are saddled with many issues right now. But you have been positive on the financial services space. You have also investments in Hinduja's finance arm. How's that doing? And that's headed for an IPO. Are you going to exit completely?
Yeah. So this is a business which the Hinduja started about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Clearly, we were the first and the only partner for them in the business.
Right.
It's a business which was fairly young when we came in, and over the last 5 years has done extremely well in terms of addressing the commercial and I would say largely the utility vehicle market. For us, clearly, as we have now matured this investment, as the company clearly looks to raise more capital in the market, we think from a timing perspective, it's the right time for us to exit, for other investors to come in and take this journey going forward. So we have filed a prospectus, the company has filed a prospectus with SEBI. We're waiting for approvals and then we will take it to market.
But how are the valuations looking in the market? Because we are seeing now markets quite nervous. Some of the key levels have been taken in right now, and there are quite a few headwinds that we see in the marketplace which are really making it all the more jittery. So is this a right time for private equity players to really exit and make use of the returns that they had been eyeing in the present equity market scenario?
So you're absolutely right. Over the last few years, we have seen valuations creep up, generally for the economy as a whole and for the Indian stock markets as a whole. Many sectors have run far ahead. But partly, if you focus on just the financial services sector, I do think there's a little bit of a barbell approach. The fact that if you have a good business which is growing well and has high asset quality tends to get a much better valuation than businesses clearly which have a poorer asset quality and have, as a result of that, struggle with capital and therefore growth. And I think it's good for the markets to sharply differentiate the quality businesses from the others. And because at the end of the day, I do think that as a market, we are becoming a lot more sophisticated. And rather than it being, I would say, directed lending, now the market, even the industry itself, is very clear in terms of what their strengths are and what they need to focus on.
Right.
As an economy, I think for us to continue to grow at 7-8% year on year, which is real rate of growth, and if you add inflation is 13 to 15%, finance is an absolute core part of any economy. So I remain extremely bullish long term. I think you're right, there are short-term headwinds. I think interest rates is an issue. I think what's happening on the global trade side is clearly a concern. I do believe that some of these will creep itself into the Indian monetary system.
Yeah.
But I yet believe that good businesses will weather this and come out of it and actually grow even stronger.
All right.
The best times to grow businesses in the time when you actually have headwinds. And because when there are tailwinds, then you're just flying.
No, but I was asking you only from the returns perspective, by markets being the exit mode at these present valuations.
So if you look at a private equity strategy, typically private equity players are long-term in their outlook.
Yeah.
So we normally look at a 5 to 7 year cycle. We don't look at a 1 year window. And in a 5 year window, we do believe we are long-term bullish, right? But at the same time, we are short-term bearish, and therefore we are very focused on what price we want to pay for the asset.
Right.
So we've generally been, if you look at it, we've been less active over the last 6-8 months.
Of course.
And that partly also because that we saw the headwinds, and we realized that valuations had run a little bit ahead of where they should have been.
So are the valuations better now?
It's difficult. We are again very bottom up in our, I would say certain sectors like healthcare, for example, has seen correction.
Yeah.
We remain very, very bullish on the long-term prospects of the sector.
Right.
I do believe that there will be opportunities to do business over there and make investments. So we do see financial services continue to be, I would say, reasonably good companies are getting a little bit richly priced. I think a little bit ahead of their, I would say, performance. And so we will essentially continue to look for, and this is like picking out needle in a haystack.
Though you have 2 IPOs coming from the investee companies, Crystal is another one from your portfolio which is going for an IPO. Tell us more about that.
So Crystal is a very exciting business in the agri-chemical space. They've been focused on crop protection. They've essentially built the business largely around innovating and introducing new crop protection products into the Indian markets. As we look at where India is in the agri, both from a production perspective and productivity perspective, I think the focus of crop protection will continue to grow. Along with that, I think there is a massive interest in essentially hybridization,
Right.
and therefore introducing new varieties of seeds and other products which will essentially help in increasing farm output.
Right.
All of this is something that Crystal is playing long on.
Right.
It's focused on the Indian market. It's focused on the 9 big agricultural states. It's building a new pipeline of products which it continues to essentially introduce into the market, and through that has been able to achieve strong growth over the last few years. It's a very entrepreneurial organization, at the same time scaling up and building a very high quality management team. And we do think that a combination of that should continue to augur well for the business going
So
forward.
you're exiting completely from Crystal?
That's right.
And even from Hinduja's Finance?
That is correct.
All
so
right.
these
So
are both
what are-
businesses where we've spent and been invested for more than 5 years, and we do think that it's the right time for us to now step off and for someone else to step on.
What are the kind of returns that you're going to clock in, or your expectation is about how much?
We have no expectations other than what the market is willing to price this at. We do think that this is not just about our exit, but both these businesses are raising growth capital. So clearly the primary driver for both these IPOs is growth capital. And we clearly, I think market wants reasonable float. One of the reasons why it needs reasonable float is you can attract quality investors. So partly through that, therefore, an OFS, offer for sale of our stake is happening.
All right. And what happened with Kenstar deal? Are you still on with it?
It's obviously currently can't talk much about it, but as you know that we had agreed to purchase the business. At this point in time, we are in the process of discussion with lenders in the right way to kind of complete the transaction. Clearly, it's something that currently it's difficult to talk about, but once it's all done, we'll obviously be very happy to discuss that.
Healthcare is a sector which has many deals happening and many assets are on sale. Are you interested there?
I think the entire life sciences and healthcare ecosystem, again, we think there is a large opportunity. If you look at the Indian consumption trends and any consumer's wallet, healthcare is now a very large part of that wallet and large share of that wallet. As longevity increases, as people focus more both on prevention as well as cure, you are going to see medical spends increase.
Right.
So we are looking at everything in the entire, from hospital services to medical devices to pharmaceuticals, life sciences, etc., and looking at opportunities to do investments there.
Then a lot's happening, but we haven't seen you very active in the last 1 year. Do you think that now the valuation dynamics are such, then probably you will enter the market with more buyouts? And of course, you have a fund now which is going to concentrate on the green energy space. So is it now the time is ripe, or do you think that there are more headwinds and the markets will go down further and therefore you will be on a wait and watch mode?
I think there is, there is both an opportunity and a challenge today, right? I think clearly the opportunity continues to remain that India as a country, as it's readjusting itself, right, to the new economic, I would say, realities, and to a situation where we had strong reforms over the last few years, we will see new business opportunities come through that.
Right.
For us, buyouts has been a core strategy.
Right.
I'm amazed, in fact, at the pace at which buyouts have grown in India. The 2000 to 2010 period, I would have barely thought that maybe 10 or 12, a dozen, buyouts by financial buyers. But since then, we have seen it grow, where we are seeing more than 10 to 15 buyouts a year by financial buyers. So I do believe that as there are generational changes, as business challenges grow and you need capital and you need essentially more staying power to grow, a lot of businesses will be willing to sell, and therefore we will be willing buyers for those businesses, but at the right price. I think at the end of the day, there are a few things we learn in the investing business, and one thing is make sure we buy at the right price.
All right. Thanks, Anpal, for joining us on Big Deal. It was great chatting with you, and all the best with your new fund as well.
Thank you, Nisha.
Thank you so much.